Ah, for real? Yep, I'm Justin from All For Real Podcast, and today I'm joined with Clint as we interview Art Briles, the national championship contender, ex-Baylor football coach, and more.
You know, of course, I grew up a Houston Bear guy, because I played for Bill Yeoman at Houston and kind of used that all the way through. I coached with W.T. Stapler in the early 80s at Sweetwater. He was a wishbone guy. So that terminology has always been with me, still with me today, honestly. But when I got my first head coaching job in 1984 at Hamlin, Texas, I don't know if you've ever heard of Johnny Ham Jones, but, there was at one time UT had like Johnny Lamb, Johnny Ham, and another guy from out of state. Can't remember what his name was. But he was another Jones. They had three Johnny Joneses. But um, I went there and we had good kids. We had a good mixture of talent, toughness. Just guys that really love to play the game of football. And the first year we go 13-0-1. We get actually tied in the quarterfinals. And then I kind of saw there, the deeper you get in the playoffs, you're going to come up against people with better talent. And that's what happened to us. We came up against a team that was just better than us. And so I figured out, at that time, running split back veer, I just thought, hey, I had this returning quarterback kid named Mike Hyerton. And I said, I'm just going to put him in a shotgun, let him wiggle, let him work, and spread out 4 or 5 receivers and make people cover the field and try to create some running lanes. And, did that. And, next year we go 14-1. Then I go up to Georgetown after that, Georgetown High School down by Austin. And really, it was a 4A, just moved up to 5A. 5A at the time was the largest classification. And we were in there with Austin, Westlake, and Temple, and Killeen, Waco High, some really good schools back then. And we just kind of had to change around then. I did some pretty wild stuff just to kind of survive. Actually, Hal Mummy was the head coach at Coppers Cove at the same time. They were in our district. And just kind of evolved. I got around some really smart guys when I was at Stephenville that, really had creative minds. Always wanted people that thought outside the box, that looked at things differently. And so I've been around a really, really bunch of smart coaches that, aren't afraid to take chances philosophically and schematically. And that's kind of how you get it going. Then you get good people that can play in space and, like to play at a high rate of speed and enjoy getting the ball, in their hands, and you got a chance to be a pretty good offense. So it's just evolved through the years. And I've, I don't want to spend a lot of time, but just to kind of bring it up to date, I was in Italy. I actually coached 26 football games from 2018 to 29. Well, no, all in 2019. I'm sorry. We started in February of 19. I finished up in November of 19. But I coached 13 in Italy, 13 in America, including scrimmages and exhibition games. But anyway, over there, I really kind of evolved. I'm kind of evolved into a real quarterback run-friendly offense now because, the more you get into it, the more you see it, the more you understand if they're going to play 11 on defense, you play 11 on offense. If you hand the ball off or throwing it, you're really just playing with 10. So, you want to involve everybody that you have offensively. This allows you a lot more capabilities of moving the ball and creating space and creating matchups, from a defensive standpoint, as far as, people in the box and getting one-on-one situations because when they have to count for the QB. So over there, I really evolved into a quarterback run-friendly, pass-friendly, screen-friendly, RPO offense. And then, we actually used it this past year a little bit at Mount Vernon and, had fun with it. So it's continuing. And, it's a great thing about it. And that's why I've never had a playbook. What I've got are my yellow notepads that I started probably in 1984. And I've got every one of them through all the years. And I've got when you look at my desk, the play sheets on the board, and I've got papers and stuff on the desk of, plays and schemes and, really dreams that that you think of when you're, jogging or lifting or sitting by yourself. That's when I do my best thinking.
What of everybody
Does
that's
that answer the question?
heck yeah, get you there. Are
Sorry
you kidding
to
me?
be so long-winded, but
No, that's what we wanted. That's what we wanted. Of everybody that's ever stood behind the center and taken a snap for you, who was your who had it the most of all the quarterbacks you've coached? There were some great ones. This isn't to put anybody down, but who was the one you were most excited every time they caught that snap? You were like, "Oh, I know he's got this."
Oh, this is Clint, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, Clint. That's kind of an unfair question, because I've been blessed with so many dynamic guys that can do the job, and there's so many different ways to do the job. I mean, just as long as you're productive, you make other people look better, you're unselfish, you have a burning passion, desire to win and compete, then you can be a great player at the quarterback position. But you also have to be very aware, very intelligent, and very cognizant of everything but prior to the snap. So there's 10 things that happen before every ball snap, and the quarterback's got to know it. So the main ingredient that I always felt about two things for a quarterback: first of all, they had to think exactly like I was thinking, and then I would always tell them predictability is the most important ability. That's the most important ability. I got to know what's going to happen before it's going to happen. And that just comes from going over stuff, tempo, going against air in practice, which I'm a big, strong believer of, and, just making sure everybody's thinking and seeing the same things. But to answer your question, I've had a lot of great high school quarterbacks, great ones, they've just been phenomenal. I mean, I had a guy that set the national mark for most passing yards, Kellen Luker, that went to SMU. He was a great one. Had 3 or 4 other guys that were D1 guys out of there. When you go to college, of course, Kevin Cobb was my quarterback. There at U of H, and he was like the 40-something pick in the draft. Started for the Eagles. Case Keenum. My little claim to fame is I was the only guy that offered Case Keenum a college scholarship. Because he just had it. He had the it factor. I watched him, play in a little pickup game, and I just, if he saw you, you weren't going to touch him. Now, he wasn't big, he wasn't fast, but he could just do it. He just had something that nobody else had. And then you go to RG3, which, you'd have to. I mean, he's the X factor. I mean, you mentioned when the ball's in their hands, you get excited. Yeah, I mean, he did phenomenal things that nobody else could do. And that's why he won the Heisman Trophy, just because he was that energetic, that dynamic, and that competitive. And then, Bryce Petty's a guy that was a really, really good football player. Nick Florence, and then Jarrett Stidham. I got to coach Jarrett for 1 year, and just was a tremendous talent. Knew that he would be an NFL guy, and then really a great one that got injured. Seth Russell, if he stays healthy, he's in the league now. And people might say that I'm crazy, but that'd be bragging on me. But he probably could have won the Heisman. I mean, if he'd have stayed healthy in 2015.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. RG3, you saw something on him before anybody else. I remember people where I was sitting when you put him in against Wake Forest. Everyone wanted to hang you because they're like, "Why is he taking all these people out?" And then he sits there and does that first run where he stutter steps on the sideline and steps back, and the dude goes flying by him. And I thought to myself, "Oh my God, he just found Michael Vick! Like, what happened?"
Michael Wishes. That was awesome. And everybody talks about Lamar Jackson and Pete, and Lamar is unbelievable. But when Kevin was Philadelphia, I went and watched the Eagles practice. Andy Reid was a coach there, great coach, great guy. And Michael was there, and Kevin was there, and Michael just got back in it, so Kevin was a starter. But I watched him practice, and a left-handed quarterback at 6 foot, half inch, can sling the ball and move like him. I mean, he was a phenomenal guy. But the play you mentioned against Wake Forest, I mean, that's it. That's the premier moment. And every quarterback I've ever coached has a premier moment. That was Robert's.
Robert had like 40 of them. The Oklahoma game, I can list 5 or 6 in a row.
Well, yeah. Everybody thinks about the pass to Terrence Williams, but to me, it's a reception from Kendall Wright on 3rd and 10.
Oh,
we were back up on the 23-yard line. So, yeah, he's just. He was, and you really forget he had an extra year. He came out a year early because he missed a year with ACL. But he's just it's just a blessing. He was a guy that we recruited when I was at Houston. He was going to come to U of H, and a lot of people weren't looking at him as a QB. And the first time I saw him throw the ball at camp, I told Montgomery, I said, we got to hide this guy. I knew he could run, and I knew he was intelligent. He graduated 7th out of 463. And when I saw him throw the football, I thought, there's nobody else like this. There's guys that are fast, that are fluid, that can jump, that can run, but can they throw? And can they throw accurately? And he could do it. So that's really the separating factor for him.
And guys, I could probably let you reminisce about Baylor all day, but I want to interject and Coach Briles ask you about something close to your heart. How do you feel about your son's progression and what he's able to accomplish?
I tell you, it's hard being on the outside and watching. When you're in the battle with people, it's just a mindset of everybody's moving forward, and you kind of block out everything on the outside. And you got a purpose, you got a goal, you got a mission, and you go do it. When you're on the outside, watching, it's just tougher, man. It was easy on me being in Italy. When I went over in October of 2018, he was coaching at Houston at that time, and it was just easier. And I really didn't get to any games at all that year. And then last year I was coaching the course on Friday night, so I'm not sure. I went to one game when Florida State played at Florida, and that was like in late November. So that's the only game I saw there. And now, he's at Arkansas, and we're a little bit closer. But it's more relaxing, to just not be involved on a play-by-play basis, just because it's just stressful. Every call could be the game, so you got to make good calls. You got to understand what's going on. But to answer your question, there's been a lot of guys that have really done well that I've had the benefit to coach with, and Kendall's a good example. Jeff Levy, our son-in-law, is another good example. He's the Ole Miss coordinator, and Coach Clements is up there also. Tate's at North Texas. Montgomery's done a great job, hired a bunch of our guys there. So it's just Dino, of course, is at Syracuse. So we've been blessed. I've been blessed being around a lot of good people, and these guys that are younger are fortunate to been able to be exposed to it at an early age. I didn't get into college till I was, 45 years old, maybe. I don't even know. But that's so they're fortunate to be in there at a high level like that early, and they certainly don't take it for granted. They're very grateful.
What would you say the difference between the offense that you developed, the nuances and everything else, versus what June Jones and then we're running on?
June's a good friend of mine, and he's a run and shoot guy, and all that comes down from Sid Gillman and all those guys throughout the years. U of H had great success with it when I guess Parcells was there back when Andre Ware was quarterback. I think, is that right? It wasn't Parcells. It was who's the guy who went for the coach for the Houston Oilers at the time?
Oilers also,
Beal.
Yeah, Beal, yes sir.
Y'all should know that. Y'all are the sport.
No, it's funny is I didn't plan on getting to U of H, so it's hilarious.
Yeah, but he had Andre Ware, in that offense, and of course he won the highest running back, I think, in like
89. Yes, sir.
And man, I wish I could think that coach's name. He was a great coach. Might come to me as soon as we hang up. But so their offense, and I've been around that just a little, not a lot, but it's strictly one back all the way, two wides. So it's a pretty base formation offense. This is what they're going to do. They're going to do it well. There's a lot of quick passes, a lot of quick reads, and they're going to run the eye back, 20 times a game, 25 maybe, and be very effective. So the difference in theirs, I guess, in what we do is that we like to make people think we're a pass-happy offense. We're just opposite. If you'll check the stats, we always run the top in the Big 12, even when I was at Houston nationally and the Big 12 Conference USA at that time, rushing the football. There'd be 4 or 5 teams in front of us, and it'd be Army, Navy, and, somebody else, So we're going to run football because run game travels, and it doesn't matter what's going on, what the weather is, but your run game's going to go with you. And so I've always been a strong believer in being very physical and dominant up front. When I was recruiting, I always started with quarterbacks and then O-linemen. because you can find skilled people. I mean, they're just no slash on them, but there's just a bunch of them out there. There's not a great old lineman. There's not great D linemen. There's not great quarterbacks.
Your ability to find offensive linemen, I always thought was second to none. I think that was apparent even on in Houston. You talk about the transition from high school into college, not having to recruit versus having to recruit. I don't know. What did you prefer? Like being able to grow what you have or being able to go out and find others?
Both. I mean, it's the really the most fun part of the game for me is the preparation. I mean, just the off season, the work, growing with kids, getting to know them, seeing how they, compete and how they work, what makes them tick. And, so when you're in high school, you're around them, get to grow them. Same thing in college. I mean, you bring a guy in, an old lineman, and, he might be 6'6" and weigh 261, and you envision him weighing 312. So you got to get him strong. You got to get him physical. You got to get him hungry. And, you got 5 years with those guys. So that's a long time, just like Spencer Drango, was texting me today. I was asking him about his weight, and he's 305, I guess 311, which I think is a better weight for him. But, because he's a broad shouldered boy, he's a big kid. But, so it's fun to watch these guys develop. But we really had a good run with old linemen, and Randy, does a great job, Coach Clements, of really getting with those guys and technically teaching them.
I want to ask about I'm a Texas high school fan, so what can we expect this season? And is your transition, has it exceeded your expectations?
It's been fun, and that's the whole deal. I mean, I coach football because I love football. It's never mattered to me whether I was coaching in Sundown, Texas, or coaching against Ohio State and the shoe. It just never made any difference because football's football when you step across the lines, and it's it's a mind game. It's a game against individuals. Everybody's equal, and that's what I always loved about it. I mean, when you get on the field, it makes no difference who your mom and daddy are, where you grew up, anything. I mean, you have a job doing, you have to do it, and that's all that matters. So that's the thing that always drove me to the sport. Of course, my dad was a coach, so I've been around it all my life. But it's been really refreshing, I guess would be the thing to say to answer your question. Is going to Mount Vernon and getting around those kids and those people and coaches. I got to bring in like 12, 13 coaches, and they're all really, really good coaches. And it's just been very refreshing. We've actually been going the last couple of days, so it's been fun. And my grandson threw my phone in the water about a month ago, and so I've got just a stand charge it magnetically. So it just flashed up. I'm less than 10%. I can't use a plug-in deal. So if it crashes on us, that's going to be. It's not that I hung up. That's going to be what happened.
No worries. It's been an honor to have you for sure.
Got 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah.
I tell you what, Coach. I think back to certain places, like the way that your guys see it. Okay, so asking you this, I remember specifically in Bryce Petty's game against Texas Tech in Dallas. Very, very important game, and we're struggling for quite some time. And he sees an opening downfield, late third quarter, that really kind of starts to change the tide of the game and blow that open for us, which leads us to the Oklahoma State game, which is the most painful moment of my entire life. I want to point that out. But
I've got one more painful, but go ahead.
I don't know, man. That's right on there with me.
Michigan State was extremely painful.
Okay, all right. That is extremely painful. But in a moment like that,
ahead.
throughout your whole career, is that where the quarterback is thinking like you are, that he sees the opening down there and just has the guts to make that throw? Is that you in him, or is that the guy you recruited?
No, I think it's, the thing I was so proud of Petty, and I said this in front of the team in 2014, actually 2013. He started in 2013 and 14. When he was in high school, he never had a winning record as a quarterback, and that was from Midlothian. And, his first winning record was his junior year at Baylor when we finally got to 7 wins, which secured a winning season for him. So that to me was a phenomenal feat for him. And Bryce was just a grinder. He had a tremendous amount of ability, and he would just grind, and you look at him, you think, this guy's got it all, but he wanted more, and that's the thing that I respected about him. And he really grew as a leader, as a tough guy. I mean, to me, he made a run against Texas in 13 when we beat them in the Ice Bowl or whatever it was, a little third down run on their side. And I know we're in about plus 35 territory. That, to me, that's if you to lead, you have to inspire. And what he did, he inspired our football team. He inspired our coaching staff. And so, that to me was a turning point in his career, because our players saw, hey, this guy's, he's going to lay it on the line for us. He's passionate. He cares about winning. And, so that was a big deal for him. I mean, the Oklahoma State game, we of course, we got them at home in one year, but they beat us up there on a really cold night.
The turf tackle, that's what started it all.
That's it. I mean, I didn't want to bring that up.
I had ordered a pizza. Like, the wife, I was just recently married at the time, she was in the bedroom. I'd ordered a pizza, and I was eating a pizza, right? By myself completely in the living room, so amped, turned my phone off, so dialed into this game. And the turf tackle happens. I lived in an apartment complex, 4th floor. I literally walk outside and throw the pizza off the balcony. I'm so mad.
Don't jump. But it's the great thing is, and that was a really tough deal. I mean, because they take it 99 yards after that. We never really recover. But he recovered. He came back from that and proved himself to be a champion. And to me, that's you have to go through adversity to rise, and he had the opportunity to do that, and he did it.
Just like you, Coach, I can't think of too many people that have taken it unfairly at times on the chin and been able to pull yourself back up by the bootstraps and get out there. I mean, you are an inspiration, not only for your innovation, but for your positive attitude. I mean, I've always been proud to call you Coach. I'll put it that way.
Well, and I've always been proud to be called Coach. And, that is my inspiration, just because I know who I am. I know the people that I'm around, and I've been very blessed. I've kind of, I don't know if you know my story, but I've kind of been on my own all my life, and so I know what I have to depend on. I have to depend on myself, my faith, and my family, and that's something that's always kept me going. So I'm just grateful. I'm 64 years old, and I'll be danged if I don't feel 48.
Speaking of faith in football, we're definitely going to put a link to your book underneath us here. That's a phenomenal read. If you guys have not read that, I definitely suggest it.
I got a new one that I've written that'll be out eventually.
Well, Coach, you got to come on and talk to us about that.
No, it took me 2 years to write it, and I wrote every word myself, and that's so grammatically it might be a little rough around the edges, but the main point's still there. But that's all right. I was actually an English teacher, but I'd forgotten most of that stuff by the time I got through the book.
Well, Coach, we want to give you a former farewell before your phone dies. So thank you so much for coming on with us. We appreciate your time, and good luck with everything you have coming. And like Clint said, you're a soldier and way to keep, powering through.
God bless you. Thank you, bunch, Clint. I appreciate you reaching out.
Yes, sir. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care, Coach.
See you.
All right.